Hey everybody, and welcome to AQ's Blog and Grill. We're excited today to have Alex Mustakas with us. Alex is the Chief Entertainment Officer of Drayton Entertainment. And this guy is a success story. He's a success story in the past, he's a success story right now in the present, and this guy is going to be a success story for many years to come. So, welcome Alex. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me.
So, tell us a little bit about the story behind Drayton.
Well, you know what, I'm from this area originally and was involved in a lot of theater. And I started off as an actor and then a director. I also have an economics background from Wilfrid Laurier University. So
right.
you talk about show business, those two words, I kind of have both, the show and the business. So
great.
It's kind of unique, I think, in this country to have both sides of the brain.
Yeah.
And after a while, I being from an immigrant family, my father wanted me to get my education. That's why I went to Laurier and got my business and economics. And one night at dinner, I gave it to him. And I said, now can I do what I want to do? And he said, sure. And I became a professional actor and then director. And then at one point I thought, well, wouldn't it be great if I can kind of tie all these skills together? So I went to England and I studied arts administration. Right. And when I got back, it kind of fell into my lap. I was directing a show at the Humanities Theatre, and the general manager there lived in Drayton and told me about this opera house that the community had saved from the bulldozer. I was fascinated in the fact that this tiny community at the time with 1,000 people raised over $200,000 to save this building.
Wow.
But at that point they said, well, we've had all this momentum, what do we do now? Can we create another Blythe Festival, another Stratford, another Shaw? And I came in, I did a study for them, and I explained to them how difficult it is and the concept of it all. And I remember, I think it was September 1st of 1990, sitting with a committee of council who ended up all being on the board of directors right after that. And there was this gentleman in the back row who kind of sat stone-faced through this whole thing, and I kept directing my remarks to him, and I wasn't getting anywhere. But he was the first to stand up and say, our kids have grown up to hockey and to baseball and to television. Why not, expose them to arts and culture? And that's kind of where I thought, we had something. And then right after that, everybody took out their checkbook and said, how can we help?
Wow.
And then, fast forward 25 years later, we're doing over 800 performances in 7 theaters across the province. Right. We're one of the top employers of professional artists in the country, and we'll reach about 250,000 people this year.
Now, just to put it in context for people, Drayton is a town, and you said of 1,000 people at the time, and that's 40 kilometers, 30 miles from a bigger city called Kitchener-Waterloo.
Yeah. It's interesting because I wonder all the time whether I would have had the same success in the bigger city. There's this notion of going to a little country playhouse, the drive to the country. And a lot of the success is based on that community as well. If you look at Drayton, there's 2 crossroads in the middle of nowhere. Right. If you build it, they will come. And
Field of dreams.
Yeah. I remember taking some of my senior staff to Vegas once, and I said, you know what? This is Drayton. This is like the middle of nowhere. And they made this happen, But it's true. I mean, where else in those early days, to this day, actually, we have greeters at the front door, a member of the community or council who stands there and welcomes people. And at the end of the show says, thank you for coming. Right. Who else does it other than Walmart? But we mean it. Right. So there's something to be said. And sometimes people ask me, what's the secret of the success? And I just, I think sometimes we forget the basics. And the basics for me it's like my favorite restaurant. Why do I go? The food is great. The service is great, the atmosphere is great, and the price is right. It's just sometimes we overthink things, and it's about relationship building. We know at the end of the day we've got great shows, and that's what helps sell the next show. Sure. But we have been really good at building relationships with our audience, with our members, with our sponsors, with our media, for example, and that's what it's about.
Now, do you remember what the 3 plays were, the 3 performances you put on your first year?
My first year, absolutely. The town hall, the opera house, was built in 1902, and it was part of the early vaudeville circuit. Oh. So what I decided to do, first of all, I hired all professional performers and ones that I'd worked with before, but I also brought in Alan Lund, the great late Alan Lund, who And I said to him, can you create a show called vaudeville based on the early kinds of shows that went on? And that's exactly what he did. And,
wow.
and you know, it was kind of his era in the early days, right? And I'll never forget, he showed up the first day, brand new theater, right? Brand new festival. And I said, Alan, do you have the script? I can make copies for everybody. He says, what script? It was all in his head. And we put it together in 2 weeks. And within 2 days of it opening, it skyrocketed. People told everybody.
Yep.
And part of the success, again, too, is based on, you kind of under promise, over deliver. You
There you
know,
go.
but, you know, who are you going to see in this little village in the middle of nowhere? And you get some of the best performers in the country with one of the top directors in our history, director choreographers in our history. So we opened with vaudeville, then did a Neil Simon comedy,
Of course.
Brighton Beach Memoirs, and followed by kind of a genre that I'd been used to, the Pirates of Penzance. And that's what kind of started it all.
Yeah, and isn't it, I think part of your success story has got to be the choice of these plays, these performances. You have to resonate with the audience that's going to come.
Absolutely, and it's something that every theater in North America is thinking about right now because of the shifting demographics. And then the buying patterns are a little different now too. People used to buy subscriptions way in advance. Like in those early years, I literally could program anything that I thought would resonate because we'd already started 80% pre-sold. Right? It's very different now. And a lot of the shows right now are name shows. If you look at Broadway, you know, a lot of them are based on movies. I mean, we're doing, what have we done? You know, we're doing Mamma Mia right now. We're doing Sister Act. You know, we've done Mary Poppins. We've done, you know, Wizard of Oz. Those things are based on kind of movies the classics that, you know, 9 to 5, the musical, etc. And they have a brand already, you know, so that's good and that's bad, you know what I mean? But it is drawing in a younger generation, and that's what you need to do to survive.
You know, this is so interesting because you and your crew are using both the left side and the right side of your brain in terms of the creativity and the business sense of making sure that's still going to put bums in the seat.
Absolutely, and I've been adamant about that. It's kind of artistic integrity with fiscal responsibility, especially for us because we, in our history, we've not received any operating grants from any level of government. I mean, we've received project grants and for capital and that sort of thing, but we don't rely on. We do it all ourselves. And
got a fist bump you for that one,
And so it puts, you know, it keeps us the pressure on, but it's a good thing.
Yeah, it keeps you sharp.
Yeah.
Now, when you mount a production, and let's say it's going to start in Drayton or in Cambridge, the new theater is quite something.
Yes.
Then are we going to see that appear? Is it going to go on the road for Drayton?
Sometimes that's been part of the model, right? The ability to move a show and you know, if I do Mamma Mia once, for example, you know, the budget is the budget. But this is the first time in our history this year that Mamma Mia is going to play 4 theaters. So I'm now amortizing the cost of that, the pre-production, over 4 venues and 4 audiences, and that's really good business. But it's good. It's not only good for us. It's good for the artists who now It's not a 5-week contract. Now it's a 25-week contract. You know, so that helps us get even better performers. There you know, I remember that first year, performers across the country saying, "Where's Drayton? What's this all about?" Today, we're one of the top places they want to work. You know, because they feel like family. They like playing to full houses and so on, and then they get the attention as well. The audience benefits because. You know, where the arts make a case for economics, well, we can prove it because we have these flexible subscription packages. So people buying 2 shows in Cambridge, 2 in Drayton, you know, 2 in St. Jacobs, they go to Penetanguishene, right? So they're traveling the province knowing the quality of show, but they're going to see it in a different location. So they've got to drive to these places. In some cases, they'll stay overnight. They'll eat in restaurants. They may take in other attractions. So economically, it's helped as well. So it's really benefited everyone. You know, I think one of the greatest achievements for me is that we've introduced theater to a lot of new people that had never experienced it before. I'll give you a great example. Daryl Fox, Terry Fox's brother, who was in the van with him during the Marathon of Hope, was here this past weekend to launch the Terry Fox exhibit at the museum. Well, we're working on we've been selected by the family to work on a brand new musical on his life that's being presented at the St. Jacobs Country Playhouse in the fall.
Wow.
Right, so we've been dealing with the family quite a bit. And, after that, the exhibit opened, he came to see Mamma Mia that night.
Okay.
And I sat with him, and at the end of it, he said, what have I been missing? This is I wasn't a theater person, but I'm coming back.
Yeah.
It was a unique experience. And that's what we find if we can get them in the first time. And I remember the early days, the men in the lobby, talking to them, they go, yeah, my wife's dragging me here to see this, And these are the guys now coming 6 months early, booking 20 tickets because it's become a routine every year with their friends, and they know where they're going to stop to eat, and they see a great show that's accessible, and so the uniqueness of the facilities also helps as well. Drayton is that old opera house. The King's Wharf Theater in Penetanguishene was a turn of the century armory. The barn in Grand Bend, and so that all is part of the experience too.
Yeah. It's cool that you've been able to leverage that, and that people get loyal. Because you've got a brand now. No, I have a level of expectation.
Yes, I know, which puts pressure on.
Sure it does.
Absolutely.
It keeps you sharp.
I chuckle a lot because every time I talk to somebody that's just seen a show, they say, it's the best one yet. It's the best one yet.
Yeah.
But they were there 2 weeks ago saying, that's the best one yet. So it puts pressure on you to find product and to produce it and to cast it with great talent as well, and great creative teams. And then you have to have a wonderful administration who can market the shows and get the word out. So it's all part of it, and like I like to tell the people in the box office, there's as much part of the show as the actor is on stage.
Now, your success at this, Alex, has been recognized, and I think in a most appropriate way. Ernst & Young runs a contest across Canada every year on, entrepreneurship.
Yes.
And they recognize the best entrepreneurs in regions and provinces and in Canada. Now, it seems to me that you and Drayton won an award, I think it was 2012, 2013?
13, I think, yes. Well, what I found fascinating about that, it was the first time that an arts organization had received an award, because they're usually business awards, right? So I think they recognize the business side of an art, and the approach that we take is very much a business approach.
You were here a couple of years ago, and I think the award had just been announced, and you and I had not met at that time, but I heard you were in the building, and I came up specifically as one entrepreneur to another, and I just wanted to say thank you, because being an entrepreneur is about dreams that come true.
Yes, absolutely, I
mean, we can all be entrepreneurial, but if the dreams don't come true, well, that's nice
let's
try.
say we should all have dreams, and we should all be passionate. And if it doesn't work out, I mean, it's part of the journey, right? And if it, I've had a few failures for sure.
Absolutely.
And if you don't, I don't know. You got to keep going.
You're not trying hard enough. If you
pick
don't
yourself up, dust yourself off, start all over again.
I've heard that somewhere. That would make a good song.
That would make a good song, wouldn't it?
Let's work on that. Now, where are you finding the talent?
Here's the thing. It's a big world, but it's a small community. We know everybody in the business, and in fact, I'm supposed to be having a conference call this week with a number of key producers out of Broadway and some major director and choreographer, right? Because they've heard our story and they want to work together. And in fact, we've toured shows throughout North America as a result of them seeing our work.
Okay.
We're also on the A list with New York licensors. When shows come up available, they'll call us because they know we were the first in the world to do Mary Poppins outside of Disney and the Cameron Mackintosh production. We were the absolute first. So there's a lot of talented people that love working for us, and we love having them. And what I hear from them a lot is family. They like working for us because it feels like a family of performers and creative people and so on.
So what's next then? You've built this momentum. And that's great. And we all know momentum can continue or it can stop.
Sure, absolutely.
So how are we going to continue the success momentum at Drayton?
Well, I can tell you right now, this is no exaggeration. Once every 2 or 3 months, we get offered another theater. We make it look easy. From communities that want to build a theater to rejuvenate a downtown core,
Right.
or they've got a theater that is just empty. I remember receiving a call from New Zealand a couple of years ago. Said, "We've got this theater here. You want it?" And I said, "Well, it's a bit of a commute." Mind you, half of my staff put their hand up. Said, "I'll go."
Oh, yeah, no, I'll make the sacrifice.
Right. So it's kind of, growth has been calculated, and it has to be manageable.
Sure.
Obviously. On top of that, it's really managing what's happening in society and the economy and demographics and technology and so on. I think that's going to be a big part of how we sustain it and grow an audience. But I'm one who believes that for every one person that knows about us, there are hundreds of thousands of others who don't.
Still not.
There are thousands and thousands who have no idea there's a theater in St. Jacobs, for example. They don't. So we got to get to them.
Well, Alex, I really want to thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
And we have to keep continuing inspiring the talent that is local and regional to say, I have an opportunity here. There's a chance that I could become a member
Absolutely.
of your company and keep shooting towards that.
And that they understand that, we had this thought about this little country playhouse, and it's become now one of the great Canadian stories.
It has.
And it's possible. It really is possible.
It is possible.
And you just dream, work hard, involve the right people as well.
Yeah.
Anything can happen.
So Mickey
you're an example of it. There you go.
Hey. So you got Mickey Rooney and you've got Judy Garland, and hey, if Uncle Jed lends us his barn, we can put on a show.
That's it.
Well, there we go. Thanks,
Thank you.
Alex. Always great to see you, and thanks for sharing
you.
some of your inspiration and your wisdom.
Thank you.
And thank you for tuning in today to AQ's Blog and Grill. Come back and see us soon. Thanks.
AQ's Blog and Grill.